How do you come up with the right words? The right words that would attract your ideal customer. The ones who would thrive under your tutorial, under your education and your guidance and coaching, and that you would love to get up in the morning knowing that that's what you got to do today. Well, my guest has an answer to that. My guest is none other than Sam Horn, the CEO of the Intrigue agency. Are you intrigued? But first, I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to She Means Fitness Business, a division of Voice for Fitness where we all believe you deserve to have a thriving business working with clients that you love every day. Look, I understand what it's like to have the education and the skills and the heart and want to serve people and not know where to start. I started over at 49. I had to put everything that I had been teaching about marketing and sales to the test. Did it still work? Did it work? And for me, I had no net. I literally gutted my life and my business, cut all cords. And I can say that I went from 0 to 6 figures, and it was a bumpy ride, but yours doesn't have to. We do things in 3 easy ways. Number 1, we look at your business from every angle, and we get you more clients, and we get you more revenue. But number 2, we help you keep it, making sure that you're profiting and not spending all your time, which is really number 3. We keep your time freedom, which is why we all go into business for ourselves in the first place. But before you do that, what I'd love for you to do is grab the business scorecard, where you can look in about 2 minutes and see how are you doing with the things that a successful and profitable health or fitness coaching business has. Where do you have holes and gaps that you can start filling right now? Look, let's dive into this episode and then come back to that. But when you're at a loss for words, when you are struggling to figure out, what do I say? What do I say if I'm on a podcast? What do I say if I'm invited to be on a summit, or somebody wants to put me on the news sharing tips? What do you say if you're simply going live on your social media to tell people about you and how you can help? My guest, Sam Horn, again, is the CEO of the Intrigue agency. Her 3 TEDx talks and the 10 books have been featured in the New York Times and presented to Oracle, Intel, Accenture, and NASA. As the former executive director of the world-renowned Maui Writers Conference and one of the LinkedIn Learning's most popular communication instructors, she helps people craft one-of-a-kind books, talks, and careers that scale their income and impact for good. We're going to answer some questions in this episode, but before we dive into it, I want you to know this. This is like speed dating with some of my guests, and if you've been here for a minute, you know I do this. We have a full-blown episode at flipping50.com, and I want you to go and listen to that. If you are putting it off, you're procrastinating, and by that, for you, it may not be a hike across America that you're procrastinating, but it may be actually the saying, yes, I am going to have a successful health and fitness coaching business. And I'm going to put myself out there because I'm going to be sorry if I don't. Instead of waiting till someday when it's convenient, when your kids graduate, when they graduate again, when they get married, when there's no wedding, when nobody's sick, instead of waiting, start now. This episode is going to inspire you, but the Flipping 50 episode may inspire you that much more. Let's dive in. Sam Horn, thank you so much for being here. We are, just for all listeners, we're double dipping a little bit. Sam just has released a wow podcast for Flipping 50. I'm going to send you all over to listen to that. But this is behind the scenes in the green room for only you who are potentially health coaches, personal trainers, or want to be and want to get started. This is the GOAT of the words that you want to use and how to avoid the ones you don't. Sam, everybody listening here is a bit meta. So they're women in midlife, wanting to help women in midlife and beyond. And often they're at a pivot point in their life where they're choosing a different career or they're ramping up and wondering, my friends are not doing this. My friends around me are slowing down. And I think there's a little imposter syndrome, both from that, but also from maybe this isn't what I did in my career. I've just spent 30 or 40 years doing something else. How do I know I can do this?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because this is something I faced 20 years ago when my book Tung Fu came out. And I had a big media tour and was on NPR and network shows in every major city. And often the first question was this assumption: oh, what's your degree in? Or, oh, are you a psychologist? Well, I was not a psychologist, and I did not have a degree in social work or human behavior or whatever. My degree was in, ready for this? Recreation administration.
You're talking to the right crowd.
And see, I love that. I worked in the tennis industry, et cetera. It just did not qualify me for writing and talking about dealing with difficult people without becoming one ourselves. And here's my message, is that I turned what could have been an embarrassment or an apology into an asset. Number one, I would say, actually, I don't have a degree. What I have is a degree in street interviews. I've interviewed taxi drivers, waitresses, lawyers, teachers, stay-at-home moms, and I have asked them what they do when someone is unfair, unkind, or inappropriate. And so, see, I did not apologize for not having a degree. I actually thought it was a competitive advantage, because sometimes people have diplomas on the wall, yet they don't know what to say when they don't know what to say. So I'm reaching out to everyone, is that maybe you don't have a degree in, physiology or whatever, but maybe what you do have are results. Maybe what you do have is, that you've lost 50 pounds and you've successfully kept them off. Maybe what you do have is that you are an encourager and you can help people hold them accountable for the goals, etc. Maybe what you do have is that you've been PTA president and everything else, and you really know how to help people figure out what it is they want and make it happen. So figure out what you're good at that you're bringing to the table. And instead of apologizing for not having 20 years of experience, know what people care about is what do they want and how can you help them get that? That's your credential. That's your qualification.
You are prolific. So you're a prolific writer. And every book you've written is better than the last, although I do have a favorite, and you're displaying it right now. Pop is my favorite. All the corners are folded down and highlights and pen marks, and I know you appreciate that. But we're in this era of Chat GPT, of AI. And I think there's this tendency to feel like, do I need to write anything? Does my voice matter anymore? Because there is so much content out there. And one of the number one complaints is, I believe you may have coined this term, infobesity. There is so much content out there that's what confuses our prospective clients. But we feel like maybe we can't contribute.
Boy, once again, you're speaking my language, Deborah, is that, I like to juxtapose. Unless someone's driving, I hope that they grab a piece of paper and put a vertical line down the center. And over on the left are going to be beliefs and behaviors that sabotage us. And over on the right are going to be beliefs and behaviors that support us. So over on the left, as Deborah just said, put infobesity. That's wah, 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 wah. It's a listicle of to-dos. People can find that online. They don't need to pay you to do that. So actually having all that information over on the left is not your competitive edge. Over on the right, please put examples. This is your secret sauce. And I want, me, right? I ink it when I think it, Deborah. Don't I have a notebook everywhere I go?
Absolutely, you do.
Around the pool, Deborah, don't I have a notebook? And when people start talking, do I get it? Do I start juxtaposing what they're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody in the room better have a notebook.
and Deborah, what we're telling people is, I am going to listen to you and I am going to map what you're saying. Because at the end of a half-hour call with a client or something like that, if we'd just been listening to them and they asked us to summarize what it is they said, we probably couldn't. It'd be in one ear, out the other. When we take notes, we ask permission. We're telling the people what you say is so important. I want to write it down. And if, as they're talking about their frustrations, put that on the left. If they're talking about their challenges, put that on the left. If they're talking about what they're trying that's not working, put that on the left. Now, over on the right, you can say, so I can understand in the last few weeks, you've done this, 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 and have not gotten the results that you want. Let's move over to the right. So what can we do about that? How can we change that? How can we do something different? You are showing the shift in a way that they are progressing in the call. They feel heard by you. And guess what? At the end of a call, you have a 1-page prescription that you can share with them where you have codified what they've just said that is crystal clear that they can act on. It will give you a competitive edge if you start inking it when you think it. It honors everyone and it helps you feed back what they've said in a way that is actionable instead of forgettable.
I love that. And I want to ask you something. I think that those of us who are creatives, we love things, but I think we can sometimes get more clever than clear. Where's the fine line between giving a word that pops and one that we are absolutely certain is so clear to the one person we want to hear it and have that resonate with?
Oh, Deborah, you are tapping into a good friend, Mariah Burton Nelson, who is actually the leading scorer at Stanford, the top center in the country, played in the WNBA and so forth. And she used to say, Sam, never sacrifice clear for clever.
Hmm.
And here's our litmus test. We ask ourselves, do people actually talk this way? Because many times especially if we're trying to impress, we go for this lofty language or we go for an inside joke. However, there's a very simple way to test whether or not it's compelling and commercially viable or whether we should kick it to the curb. You ready?
Ready.
Watch people's eyebrows. Because, see, if we are telling them the title of the blog we're going to write or the book or this technique we have, and right now, crunch up your eyebrows, if you would, Deborah. Do you feel confused? Confused people
Yes.
don't say yes, and they don't keep listening. Now, if the eyebrows don't move, it means
They have Botox.
there you go. Now, right now, everyone on the call, lift your eyebrows, right? Do you feel intrigued, curious, like you want to know more? That means we just got what we care about in your mental door. So if we're talking about clear and so forth, we want people's eyebrows up. It means they're getting it. It means they want to know more about it. It means that you've successfully captured their attention. Watch the eyebrows. It's going to let you know if you're being clear and compelling.
So beautiful. When you first wrote, so I'm guessing, correct me, Tung Fu, was that your first book? Okay. When you wrote that, what compelled you to do it and what was a risk of holding yourself back and not doing it?
I will always be grateful because like I mentioned, I worked in the tennis industry with Rod Laver. And so I was speaking on concentration. It was in Hawaii. Dr. Ray Oshiro of the University of Hawaii asked me to do a course on concentration. And then it was so well received. He came up and he said, Sam, will you do a course on conflict resolution? Because we're getting a lot of requests for that. I said, sure. So I once again did my street interviews. I talked with, waiters and waitresses and so forth, and what you do when someone's complaining. And I would give credit to them. And then I codified my own techniques about how to handle difficult people. However, here's how that name came about. At that first workshop on conflict resolution, there was a gentleman in the front row. And at our break, he didn't even get up to go get some coffee or some fresh air. He just sat there gazing off into space. Now, I was curious and I went over. I said, what are you thinking? He said, Sam, I'm a realtor. I deal with some very demanding and arrogant people. They seem to think they can treat me any way they want to. I'm tired of it. He said, I thought you were going to teach us some zingers to fire back at people and put them in their place. He said, that's not what this is about, is it? And I agreed. And he's the one who said, I'm a student of martial arts. He said, I studied karate, taekwondo, judo. He said, what you're talking about is like a verbal form of kung fu, isn't it? Eureka, the perfect name, Tung Fu. And there was nothing holding me back. And here's why, Deborah, is that when we come up with something and we know it's relevant to people, we know they can't do this. They're often tongue tied or tongue twisted. And we have real life things they can say in the moment instead of thinking of the perfect response on the way home. So, see, if someone is struggling with imposter syndrome, once again, instead of worrying about your credentials, no, ask yourself, do people have a problem with this? Is it because they're trying to go it alone? Is it because, they're busy and they just run out of discipline? Is it because they don't have anyone helping to hold them accountable? You can help those people. It's like get out of your head and into your body and help them get out of their head and into their body. Now you're going to be successful.
So good. And because we have such a short time, we're speed dating. We're going to send everybody back over to flipping50.com to someday is not a day in the week. You need to hear that because this will tie in some of the pieces that we've given you, the behind the scenes. But I also want to share two things you have coming up if you're listening in real time. But Sam is prolific. This is probably not a one-off. She'll do it again. So pay attention. But Sam, you have a couple of workshops, and the words you use in those titles are certainly brilliant. The first is how to market your work without being a jerk. Do you want to just embellish or talk about that a little?
Is that, Deborah, both you and I believe let's hit the ground running, let's not spin wheels. So I'm going to give you 3 quick tips that we will elaborate on and have many more in the how to market your work without being a jerk. Sound good?
Sounds wonderful.
Okay. Because, Deborah, do you know anyone who went into this business because they wanted to self-promote?
Absolutely not.
No, right? Many people don't want to do it. What if you could do it with it in integrity? So here's the example. And then I hope you take notes on this because you can start doing this today for free. It's going to scale your visibility. People have an opportunity to experience you and like you and follow you, forward you, perhaps work with you, etc. So I was speaking at Kauai Writers Conference last year and I gave a master class on this. Now, authors usually they don't like to self-promote and they're waiting for their book to come out. So they are at a stall with their career. They're not making any money and they're not following their dream to become successful getting their work. So here's 3 questions. I asked them, where do you go that people want to go? And I said, you're here in Kauai at Kalapaki Bay. So I want to see each of you tomorrow morning at the beach, and I want you to do a 60-second video of here you are at Kalapaki Bay. There are the roosters, here I am, etc. And I want you to share that and then tell me what happens. Second question, who do you meet that people would like to meet? I said, you are surrounded by Reese Picks, Pulitzer Prize winners, Academy Award winners. Walk up to them and say, I know you're busy, and may I have 60 seconds of your time? What is one piece of advice you would give to, there's Poet Laureate Billy Collins, one piece of advice you would give to someone who wants to write, and then post that. And then, what have you learned that people would like to learn? So I hope every day you go back to your room and say, here are 3 things I learned today from the keynote with Lee Child, Scott Turow, and John Grissom. Do you see how every single person in that class started posting these 60-second videos and they scaled their visibility? And furthermore, they're not selling, they're serving. So everyone on this call, if you go somewhere interesting, whether it's a river or it's a conference or whatever, do a 60-second video on it. Who do you meet there? The keynoter, a breakout person, an author? Say, I know you're busy, and may I have 60? Post that. Now, at the end of it, don't just post a video with your top 3 takeaways. Write an article for your local newspaper. A woman got in touch with me and she said, Sam, I'm a celebrity in my small town because I wrote my 10 top takeaways from the Kauai Writers Conference. I can't go to the post office or to the gym without people coming up and saying, oh, I've been to Hawaii. Look, doesn't cost you a penny. And furthermore, you are in integrity. You are adding value. You are serving, not selling. However, people now are aware of you. People now like you. People are curious about you. Chances are they're going to go to your website, look at your profile. Oh, she does this. You just got your foot in their door while being aligned with your values.
So beautiful. This is golden. All right. I'm going to put 1, 2, and 3. They're going to be in the show notes. You're going to want to come back to those. And I would guess replay this, listen to it again, and put it in the context of what it is you do and who you are around. Sam, where is it that everyone can get their ticket or a seat to that masterclass and or to your other one? And I'll just tease that for you. This one is Storyboard Your Book and Your TEDx Talk. Where can they register? Sorry.
It's Sam Horn, easy, samhorn.com, SAMHORN.com. And these are going to be virtual courses. And hopefully what people have already learned is that we do not spin wheels. So I tell you, have your notebooks ready. And if you ever even thought about writing a book, or you're already a seasoned author, I have a method where I help Sherry Salata, who is executive director of Oprah's show, ran Harpo and Own. We storyboarded her book. I'm going to be sharing the same process with you. And if you ever wanted to do a keynote or speak and get paid to speak, I'll also be sharing a technique where I've helped people, give TEDx talks that have gotten millions of views and that have kept them successful years after they gave their TED Talks.
Beautiful. All right, everybody. So show notes for today will be at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/words for a competitive edge. And then I'm going to send you over to Flipping 50 so you can listen to that full episode, because that also will make this really pop. See what I did there? All right. fitnessmarketingmastery.com/words for a competitive edge. Sam Horn, it's been a pleasure.
Deborah, and kudos to you. I've seen the impact that you have on people. Talk about a force for good. You're really making a difference for people. It's a joy knowing you and having a chance to talk story with you.
Thanks so much.